Welcome to the hockey world, brought to you by Private Internet Access. To me, a VPN is essential as the air I breathe, especially in modern internet commerce. If you don't know what that means, it's a virtual private network, an app that hides your IP address and protects your connection through an encrypted tunnel. It helps prevent your precious information from being seen or stolen by the prying eyes of ISPs, data brokers, and hackers. That alone makes it worth it, but my value for PIA is for another reason. It can help you access extra content from all over the world. Region locks are the bane of every sports fan from coast to coast. It's like buying tickets for the playoffs and ending up at a preseason game. But there's a way to get past it, with a VPN. And PIA has server locations in all 50 states on top of numerous sites worldwide. You can overcome the dreaded region locks. And it also applies for Netflix, Amazon Prime, and countless other streaming services. Know what makes PIA even better? By allowing you to protect all your devices at the same time with fast speeds and tight security. So I'll just drop my link on screen and you can get an 83% discount on private internet access. That's just $2.03 a month plus 4 months absolutely free. Going online without a VPN is all but going out naked these days. Put some clothes on, will you? Get private internet access. Now that you're covered, onto the video. Is it just me, or are things getting a bit feisty in the NHL this season? I don't know if it's the amplification of social media, but there's been a lot of throat cutting and jabbing between players from all walks of life. An intensity not seen in the regular season in years. Obviously not to the standards of the 80s and 90s, but if this keeps up for the playoffs, good God. The Western Conference is in the same boat. Behold the 16 teams that populate it. If there's any positive, they at least look better than they did last year. It's not much, but be real. Considering how the Ducks ate too much enriched bread, anything would have been better. Under a coach that isn't absolutely useless, Anaheim actually looked pretty good at the start of the year. Potential playoff riser and quality youth coming into the fray. Pavel Mintyukov turning into a Calder candidate, and it's gone. Everything is back to the way it was, and Anaheim still has a long way to go. I will give them this. It's progress. They've been on a free fall and are punting the ball down the road a bit further, but there are silver linings. If they can ever stay out of the penalty box. The next wave of unfulfilled ambitions are on the way out. Jamie Drysdale's off to Philly for Cutter Gauthier, and Trevor Zegras is about to be Michiganed off the roster. Eventually, as he's injured long-term. Just wonder if they're gonna break out of it anytime soon. This is honestly where I expected Arizona to be this season. Solid improvements throughout the roster, quality youth emerging on forward and defense, and an outside chance at the playoffs. Their deep rebuild is beginning to bear fruit. With flashes of brilliance throughout the lineup, they've turned into a mid-tier team. Considering how awful they've been for God knows how long, this is a breakthrough. Even with their rough stretch since the new year hit, there's enough to be interested about in the future if I'm a Yotes fan. Especially with all those futures accrued. The real problem is that we can't focus on their impressive progress as the elephant enters the room. What's going on with their arena situation? Nothing concrete has come forth in Phoenix. They missed several deadlines and the PA reps getting pissed about it. There isn't a miracle we might be seeing the final days of the Yotes in Arizona. If that happens, the Salt Lake won't be just where they might move to. I look at the Calgary Flames and one word instantly comes to mind. Mediocre. An uninspired pile of dreck that merely exists as a placeholder for true contenders. A group that lacks any true inspiration or motivation to support their cause. They simply exist. Some moments of glory, but nothing that instills confidence. Sadly, the Flames organization knows it. The beginning of the sell-off is underway. Elias Lindholm is expected, has been sent west to a surprising contender for a relatively solid return. Guys like Noah Hannafin and Chris Tanev are more than likely next. Years of treading water have led to a cold realization. This team doesn't have enough to go far. They pissed away their best chances at glory. They need to clean up the wreckage from Sutter's reign of terror. Honestly, I'm starting to be as underwhelmed as I am with Huberdeau's performance since coming here. They certainly aren't getting any help from Dylan Dubé. With how the investigation of the 2018 Canadian World Junior team's going, he might be gone for a while. He's just symbolic of the Flames. Everything around them burning. It feels like the organization's watching its face melt off while saying, "This is fine." Don't even try to look at what's assembled in the Windy City. All you'll find is wreckage strewn about for miles. Everybody is dead. Dead serious, pretty much everyone on the roster's been taken down and they're running with an AHL squad. Over half the team was on IR at some points. Connor Bedard looks damn good when he's on the ice. However, that shine's been put away long-term due to injury. Taylor Hall fell at the first charge. Corey Perry, you don't even want to know what happened, he's just gone. Without Bedard, there's no real reason to watch this team. Certainly isn't because of their power play. They're just a depressing shell of themselves that will be bullied by their brethren. Just move along. Let them be content with their misery. Someone upstairs doesn't like this team. Considering how much shit's been thrown at them since their cup win, you'd think the gods were Red Wings fans growing up. Regardless of certain dilemmas, the Avalanche continue to bowl over nearly everyone in their path. And a big reason is their main attraction. Nathan McKinnon is a fucking machine. An all-in-one dynamo near single-handedly carrying this ailing team on his back. With him and Mikko Rantanen making magic happen on the ice, it's not hard to see why they're dominant. Scoring goals almost at will. Brilliant play from all lines to stake their claim. And the thing is, they're doing this despite everyone and their mother going down to injury, or in the case of Nichushkin, checking into the player assistance program. It's gotten so bare bones and scant in terms of depth, they've had to bring in Joel Kiviranta and Zach Parise to fill roster spots. It's a testament to their high-end power. But can it translate to playoff success? Pavel Francouz is confirmed to be out for the remainder of the year, so goaltending will be further tested. There are some cracks showing on their back end. Will it come back to bite them in the end? Simply beautiful. As expected, the Dallas Stars have ascended to the top of the Central with grace and poise. They haven't broken away from the pack, but that's not for a lack of trying. Their premium offensive attack, the Stars strike fear into their opponents. It's expected when you keep most of the forwards and add a little player named Matt Duchene to it. Even if Jamie Benn is starting to become a middle six forward, I ask one question. Does Joe Pavelski age? Like at all? He's still in his prime. Now add Hinson Robertson to that and you're cooking a stew. If they could get just a bit more out of their goaltending, you could make a serious argument for a strong April and May push. Then again, this is what the year's been about. The playoffs. We know Dallas is a great team, but can they move up to the next echelon? I expect much to be done to get them over that hump. We were all laughing throughout October. The hilarity of the Oilers skydiving to an abyss of shit was stunning to witness. And what's worse was that it was the same shit as always. Issues in depth, defense, and especially goaltending. Jack Campbell just turned into canned soup, currently buried in the back of the Lazy Susan. Things gone to such dreck that Jay Woodcroft was instantly chucked into a fire to burn for time eternal. Ugliness abound. For about 6 weeks. There is no more laughing these days. And all it apparently took was bringing in Connor McDavid's former coach in the OHL. Hey, Knobloch was regarded as a top coaching prospect, and this run shows why. The Oilers went from the dregs of hell to winning 16 straight. A dominating force that has proven that they are still among the elite of the league. Whether it translates to the playoffs is a different story. But Ken Holland's desperation gamut to keep his job is working out. A season saved in the best way possible. This rebound deserves a fine reward. Corey Perry? Okay, you're getting Corey Perry. It might be 15 years overdue, but you didn't have to give up Mike Comrie in the process. Well, if it isn't the winter of our discontent in Los Angeles taking center stage. I was wondering how long it would take before Cam Talbot stopped playing eons over his head. And he was playing great for a while, wasn't he? You knew that it wasn't going to keep up, but it was inspiring. Same as the rock-solid penalty kill, also a testament to good goaltending. I just never got one thing. Why are the Kings so middling at home? There were way too many red flags to ignore, and now it's led to a deep panic. The Kings are on a downward spiral. Not only losing consistently, but getting massacred in the process. The goaltending has finally fallen off. And so has the team. Flaws rearing their ugly head. Their decision-making has to be deeply questioned, especially with certain offseason moves they made. But they need a scapegoat. Here's the thing with Todd McClellan. He'll get you a push towards playoff contention, but you'll eventually stall out under him. It happened to the Kings. He's touring the Pacific Division at this point. But is it going to do anything to turn the tide? LA just looks unbelievably uninspiring right now, in spite of the emergence of Byfield. If they can't get Cam Talbot playing over his head like that again, it could mean trouble. By the way, are you having buyer's remorse for Pierre-Luc Dubois yet, or what? Told you they needed to make that trade for Hellebuck, but like Dubois on the ice, no fucks were given. It's been a long-running joke that the Minnesota Wild are the textbook definition of mid. As consistent as 24 hours being in a day. Yet if we're talking this season, mid's probably a compliment. Is it supposed to be progress when team goaltending has been colossally disappointing all year? How their penalty kill has somehow regressed to one of the worst units in the league, with Kaprizov going through an unexpected disappointing stretch to start the year? It's obvious they're trapped, and all they can do is bash their heads against the wall hoping something comes out of it. And the only thing forming out of this franchise is a boys' club. Bill Guerin consolidating power and silencing those that oppose him. A purge has begun. His second in command is gone. The director of team operations is gone. And most importantly, Dean Evason's been terminated from his job. Why do I say it's a boys' club? He hired a guy he knew from his days in Pittsburgh as coach. John Hines? Good God, they downgraded! It's led to a boost over the last few weeks, but with the injuries they suffered over the year, do you really trust this team to make a push? The hamster wheel continues to turn with no end in sight. And Guerin's the one manning the controls. I feel like Nashville is the same team no matter who's in charge. Decent middle-of-the-pack franchise that thrives on quality defensive structure and buy-in from team depth. It's a competent group, as we should expect from the Preds. One that doesn't have high-end power, but more than makes up for in baseline performance. The Honda Accord of teams. Safe, unassuming, affordable, and something you don't try to drag race in. Also consider that this is being done with a suboptimal Jussi Saros. He hasn't been his standard self. In fact, you could say he's struggling this year. Same goes for why their penalty kill's been subpar as well. If Saros returns to his elite form, you could argue they should be able to secure a playoff spot. Do they go anywhere further than that? Well, maybe if they catch fire. It better happen quickly, because this team's falling off in the worst way. As I said, the Honda Accord of teams. Worst comes to worst, there's always Askarov on the way. St. Louis is in the worst spot a team can be in. Kinda there. The Blues aren't total slouches on the ice, but they lack elite talents to truly overtake those in their path. It certainly isn't because of their team power play for the most part. In fact, I'd say most of their team offenses lacked any sort of punch. Unless it comes to fans nearly turning on Jordan Kyrou at the beginning of the year. He's gotten better since then, but at that contract it's suboptimal. To be fair, that was the Blues. Suboptimal. Players like Jakub Vrana and more were all but detritus, and they needed a serious jolt. The heroes of the past have to be sacrificed to fuel the engines of war. Craig Berube, sorry sir, it's time to pack your shit and leave. Their issues have a lot more to do with management continually making the wrong moves at the wrong time, but head coaches are easier to sacrifice. Sorry, Craig. Like most changes in that arena, it's brought good fortune to the Blues. They're back in the thick of the playoff hunt, but the same scenario remains. They still have many things that are lacking for another cup push. Play Gloria again. It might rally the troops like it did a half-decade ago. I thought San Jose was going to be bad. This team is near unrecognizable from what they once were. If it weren't for Logan Couture and Tomas Hertl, the Sharks are reminiscent of their 1991 expansion days. One of the greatest tanks the world has ever seen. An orgy of bad contracts, failed projects, burned out stars, and Mark-Edouard Vlasic melting into a puddle on the ice. A group that gave up 10 goals in a game. In back-to-back games. Oh my lord, the hockey world hasn't seen such wreckage since last year's Blackhawks tank that apparently wasn't a tank. Can't score, can't defend from scoring, can only add lottery balls and hope they don't get screwed over. Regardless, they will most likely end up with neither Macklin, Celebrini, nor Berkeley Catton, as is tradition. Seattle had a damn good season last year, but there were many expecting some forms of regression from them. Sadly, that expected regression has come true. Some of it, like injuries to key players, is expected in any given season. What isn't, though, is the team's sudden drop-off in scoring output. This was a unit that was scoring on all four lines last season. One rotation around the carousel and it's seemingly gone. It's a shame, too. Joey Decourt's playing some damn good hockey in the absence of Grubauer. Well, in spite of getting no help. The Kraken are two different franchises. On one end, they're the team that won 9 straight and roars into the playoff picture. On the other, near-complete free fall to lose 8 of 10. Which group are they really? That's going to be the concern moving forward. Especially with their sudden goal droughts. Where the fuck did this come from? Vancouver? Am I watching the same team that was a complete train wreck last season? Momentum is indeed a strange mistress. A group with no expectations has not only snatched a contending spot in the Western Conference, they're destroying worlds in the process. Full buy-in with talent aplenty and strong play in all 3 zones. Leading the league in goals per game. Them. Jesus. I keep thinking that the Canucks are going to crash down to earth. Their PDO has been insanely high all year. Thatcher Demko is playing at a Vezina caliber level behind a quality two-way defense. JT Miller's gone from derelict to dynamo. A good chunk of their bottom six forwards are shooting over 20%. Yet even then, they still keep winning. Is this for real? Vancouver's betting it is. With how much they paid for Elias Lindholm? Are you surprised by that? It's classic JR. If he wants something, he'll send the moon for it. Be ready. He's gonna do more of it to push for another cup. Title defenses are always such a beautiful and stressful thing. I miss those days with the Penguins. Golden Knights fans cherish these moments. They don't come often. Or do they? With how Vegas has performed this year, they've got another shot at making a deep run. Know how I believe this? Watch Aiden Hill. Oh my god. Last year was certainly not a fluke. Unless that word is defined as a living wall, then maybe. Perhaps that living wall can save them further. Or magically heal Jack Eichel from his week-to-week injury. Either will be acceptable. Hopefully both. At this point, there hasn't been much in terms of disastrous calamities, besides the Eichel and Dorofeyev injuries. The Golden Knights aren't elite on the special teams front, but they aren't subpar. Just keep running course and try to catch up to the Canucks. Can't believe that's a thing we're saying, but this is a very strange year. Perhaps all this team truly required was shedding Wheeler and Dubois after all. For all the talk about spinning hamster wheels and no pushback and gutless play, this season has been a godsend. A golden model for every mediocre franchise desperate to break out of the hell they're in. The Jets are the standard, and the men in net are the main reason for their emergence. Hellebuck and Brossoit haven't just been great this season, they've been the best goalie tandem in the league, stopping nearly everything thrown at them. A complete cocoon 5-on-5. And with their offense at least somewhat decent, it leads to the dominance on display. If sustained, they are legitimate contenders. And Winnipeg's banking on it. So confident in their long-term ability that Sean Monahan was added into the flock for a first-round pick. A bold move, but a positive sign for the fanbase. Their winning ways have been desperately needed, and not for the reason of justifying competitive desires. Their attendance has fallen sharply. Winnipeg has always been a team supported by the common fan. And with the Canadian economy taking a turn for the worse, few can afford to splurge on tickets. I hope it's nothing serious long-term, but the last time this sort of downturn happened was in the mid-90s. No one needs to be reminded of what happened then. I swear, if they're the ones that move back to Atlanta in the end...
Four aside now. Deneau with a takeaway. Out of the box is Brant Clark. He's got a breakaway. To the backhand, forehand, scores! The Kings win it in overtime as Clark exits the box, timing it perfectly.